The climax of our adventure begins here. It's the Limani. It's the first thing you encounter on the way to Gereka, my grandfather's hometown. Both Gereka and the Limani are paradoxes that sit squarely in the confluence of time, progress, and tradition. The word Limani simply means port, and this Limani would not have existed if it weren't for the mountains that surround it. They hid it from view from the sea and created an inlet so shallow, large vessels could not enter. The Limani was once filled with ubiquitous dinghies owned by local fishermen. Now there are more cafe owners than there are fishermen, and it is a popular destination for yachts that tour the Peloponnesos coast. Its waters remain as clear, warm, and gentle as they've always been, but they no longer reflect the images of fig trees that dotted the mountainsides and were tended to by my grandfather's brothers, along with their mules, who knew the way around the Limani without needing any direction. Just paces from the water's edge, you could find my Tia Margarita and her beautiful smile. Her husband was a fisherman, and under a full moon, when octopi rise to the surface of the water, he would net them and slam them against rocks, and then she would dutifully clean them and cook them. Today, you could find her in the exact same spot, tending to her grandchildren and waiting for the day's catch. And therein lies the paradox. Time and progress have changed everything in the world, yet it could seem that nothing has changed at all. Just 3 kilometers away, you enter Gereka. The first thing I noticed about Gereka is there's now a road. There never used to be one. Donkeys and goats no longer roam the village with right-of-way. I also noticed how quiet it was, almost as if the amenities of indoor plumbing, electricity, and automobiles had taken away from the buzz of a small town. I also noticed there was no kids running around. One thing that I remember is just having a lot of kids creating a lot of mischief. Gereka now has a picturesque postcard quality to it. You'll no longer see the images of your mind's eye from decades past, but it's still a village of interrelated families that have lived amongst each other for decades. And when you walk the village, you'll find scores of people that you know. You can easily grab fresh grapes off vines, shake a tree branch, and have scores of almonds fall to the ground, which you could crack open with rocks and eat. And there are figs everywhere. There's been a lot of progress here over the years, but it can feel like things are the same as they've always been. When you enter most homes in Gereka, you'll find the wedding pictures of the couples that live there hanging over their bed. This is my Tia Eleni and my Theo Pandeli. This is what they look like now. Whether I was staying next door to them or at the Limani, I made it a point to have breakfast with them every morning. The coffee was black and hot, and the fruit was fresh and cold, just how I like it. The conversation was riveting, and the comedy flowed. Their perspective on life often came out in haikus and Hallmark kind of quotes. If the bugs were eating you alive, they'd say, "They share this earth with us. They have to eat too." My aunt wanted me to take olives home. When I told her the airlines probably wouldn't allow it, she said, "Why? They're not that heavy. What do they think, the plane's going to fall from the sky?" They also were a reality show waiting to happen. I tried to get my aunt to repeat that story for the video, but she couldn't take her cue, and she couldn't remember her lines. My uncle was a different story altogether. He could go on all morning with this stuff.
Τη μάνα μου την αγαπώ, άλλη μάνα δεν κάνω. Αγάπες και αγαπητικές, την ώρα χίλιες πιάνω.
Θα το πούμε αύριο, βρες. Θα τα πούμε.
Θα ανέβω και θα τραγουδήσω στο πιο ψηλότερο βουνό.
And then, to my delight and surprise, they broke into song about climbing a mountaintop and singing about your lost love.
Ο πόνος μου με την παινιά.
But don't be fooled by my uncle. That night at the Panayidi, he outdanced, outsmoked, and outdrank everyone. There he is in the center. Now watch what he does here. He's dancing with an older woman. He gets rid of her, and he positions himself between the two younger women. That is a real pro move right there. Yes, the Panayidi at Gereka has changed. It's still held at the Plakaki, once the center of town. But the Capanillo has closed, and now the space is used as a parking lot. But regardless, this is still my uncle's rodeo. Always has been, always will be. And that will never change. In sharp contrast to his father, and as soft-spoken as his mother, is their son Adoni, the youngest of three. And he's an absolute dead ringer for Eric Clapton. He also speaks the best Greek I've ever heard, not because it's academic or colloquial. It's just very concise. He has the rhythmic pattern of Ernest Hemingway, and he has a great vocabulary. And he taught me a great new word, idemos. It means zen-like, calm, tranquil, the opposite of stress. Not only do I use the word all the time now, but I try to practice it as well. And then there's Yodia. I first met her when she was 18 and I was 26. She was just a shy girl from Gereka, but she had big ambitions. She also had an incredible sense of adventure. She was up for doing just about anything. When that vacation ended, we didn't keep in touch at all. So for 35 years, we had absolutely no contact. When I knew I was going back to Greece, I started wondering whatever happened to her. I thought she'd be married for years, be a grandmother, and still live in the Choryo. I couldn't have been more wrong. This is her now. She's no longer that shy, demure girl from the Choryo. In fact, she's quite the opposite. She's bold, confident, very independent, and self-assured. She's also very talkative. She owns her own shop. She makes kuklas, or handmade dolls, that she sells all over Europe, which makes her a self-described international business woman. She's married now. Her husband, Alexandro, is on the left. If you're ever looking for him, don't try to find him on Wednesday nights at 8 o'clock. That's when the Ike football team plays on Greek national TV. And his son, her stepson, is in the middle, Costandino. He loves her as much as she loves him. We rebonded as if no time had passed. I stayed at her house in Athens and in Gereka. And we didn't sit still for a second. We hiked, we walked, we took 3 swims a day. And even though both our lives changed significantly in the last 35 years, it seemed like nothing has changed at all. We also took many day trips. We hooked up with my cousin Lazaro, and he drove us to a beach called Cape Parisi. You actually have to drive over mountains. The roads are really curvy, not well paved. They don't have guardrails, and the drops into the canyons and gullies are really steep. It felt like we were on a roller coaster ride. But when you got past the mountain, this is what you saw. It was the type of place that you had to know it existed and know how to get there to be there. Lazaro ended up snorkeling for exotic rocks just because he likes exotic rocks. Yodia and I swam, slept, and then floated on the water. It was idemos. And Yodia kept things moving. The next day we visited her oldest sister, Martina. She put together a dinner party with a menu designed for me. It featured jota, salad, bread, spanakopita, and it was served in a villa, 1,600 meters up the side of a mountain, roughly the altitude of Denver. And look at this dining room. It looks like it's out of the set of an HBO miniseries. When was the last time, if ever, you had dinner in a dining room like that. And this is Martina's husband, Costa. He's a great guy, a judge in Athens, and a great guy to know. As I circled the table, I accidentally bumped my head. Listen to what I had everyone saying. And this is Yodwo and Panayoti. They're Martina's kids. And Yodia loves them like they're her own. They're both lawyers, and along with their father, they're socially conscientious. I couldn't help thinking that I was looking at the future of Greece.
Τι λέτε εσείς? Ό,τι θέλεις.
And that's all they kept saying to me. Whatever you want. Wow. Where else do you get that? And these people at the end of the table kept on telling me I looked like Kelly Savalas and Yul Brynner. I told them that I looked like Alexei Yodros, the George Clooney of Greece, but they didn't buy it. I actually had a lot of names and nicknames in Greece. I was Tom, Tommy, Efthymios, and because of my wingspan, shaved head, and color, I was often called Kobe Bryant or Michael Jordan. Another name was Diometros, or 2 meters, because I always had to bend over to talk to people. Just for the record, I'm 2 meters and 10 centimeters tall. I was also called Slavo Egypto, or Egyptian slave, because of my help setting up and breaking down the Panaidi. But the most creative one, and the one I liked the best, was Omeralos Globos. That means the big flashlight, and it references the way the light shines off my head in all the photographs. I look like a big flashlight.
Okay.
Hi, Dom.
As you guys know, I could take it as well as give it. So when I found out that to graduate high school in Greece, you need to take 3 years of English and pass a proficiency exam, I wanted to see how well my friend Costa did in all of those classes.
I am sorry. Have you to be in America? What's your name? You are from? My name is Konstantinos. Θα τα πούμε αύριο. Good night.
So that was our crew. We'd play all day and go to the apotheke at night. It's now a luxury bar, but it was once an animal feed warehouse. On the way to visiting the house where my grandfather was born and raised, I bumped into a woman with tears streaming down her face. She knew who I was, and she told me that my grandfather had given her family money so they could buy a new furnace and get clean water. She asked me to relay this message.
She told me to thank my grandfather for remembering his choria, his town, and his people. And she told me what a great guy he was. And he was, you know. And that's one thing about my grandfather, you know. He never really forgot where he came from. Never forgot where he came from. Anyway, the door's locked. Never a problem, though. Never a problem. Because if you go to this furna here, let me see, the sun's coming out, I need my glasses soon. And you go in and you pull out this bucket, which is about a half a century old. And you look inside the bucket, you'll find this set of keys right here, which is probably hundreds of years old. And it's going to open the door for us, and we'll go inside and take a look.
So here we are. We're about to walk in the front door. This screen never existed before. And you enter the one of two rooms, which is the everything room. Keep in mind the amenities like the refrigerator, the TV, and even the sink weren't there back in my grandfather's day. This is all renter's furniture, and the last person to rent it was like 10 years ago. The ceiling in disrepair. It's going to fall down soon. And I'm told that for about 5,000 euros, you could take this whole house and make it into a kukla house or a dollhouse. And this, of course, is the second room. It served as a bedroom. Ceiling again, in disrepair on this side as well. Keep in mind that about 10 to 15 people lived in this house for decades. Most of the kids slept outside on the patio, and a couple of them slept in this room. The windows I could not get open. I wanted to air it out and get some sunlight in here, but they just won't open. And this is it. This is the inside of my grandfather's house. Before Journey's End, I had one more piece of business to take care of, and that was back at the Limani. There are 2 stories about me that have been circulating around here for literally decades. It's almost a rite of passage. Everybody has heard about them. Old people, young people, people I never met, people that aren't even born yet will eventually hear these stories. And the perpetrator of these stories is this wonderful man, my Theon Dunny. He's from Yonkers, but has been a fixture in the Limani for decades. He has first-hand experience with these stories because he was there for both of them. And much to my embarrassment and my humiliation, he'll be glad to tell you them. The first one centers on my grandparents wanting to take me from the Limani to visit some other part of Greece. I didn't want to go, then got sick, claimed it was because I wasn't at Gereka and the Limani. Someone performed an evil eye ceremony on me and was sent back to the Limani. I'll let my uncle take it from here.
Τον γύρισε ο παππούς ο φουκαράς με ταξί στη Μονεβάσια.
What he's saying is, they sent me back by boat, they dropped me off in front of his house, which is right over there, and when they came back,
στο τσιμέντο,
I bent down, kissed the ground,
φίλησε το χώμα,
did my cross, and said, thank God I'm back in the Limani. And that's the story of Fat Tommy.
χοντρού του Τάκη.
The second story is about my Theon Dunny teaching me how to swim. Again, I'll paraphrase, but it goes something like, Fat Tommy didn't know how to swim, he was scared, and he wouldn't go in the water. I had a little boat, I took him out there, I threw him in the water, and I threw a rope in after him. I couldn't help him much because he was so heavy, but little by little, he learned to swim. Well, I'm not challenging either story. Both of them are 100% true. But I did want to come back on this one. I wanted to see if my uncle could evaluate me 53 years later. Tell me if I learned my lesson well.
Θείο, σε ευχαριστούμε που με έμετες να κολυμπού εδώ στο λιμάνι 53 χρόνια.
So I asked my uncle, as best he could, to put me in the exact same spot I was in 53 summers ago. I gotta tell you, it was exhilarating.
Έτοιμος. Είσαι καλός μαθητής. Είσαι καλός μαθητής.
Ωραία.
Κολυμπάς ωραία, μπράβο. Μπράβο.
Από το λιμάνι. Ωραία. Ακόμα είναι χοντούλης.
Όλα.
Αχ, τι είναι ωραία.
Ξέρεις που είσαι.
Well, I'll tell you, I learned one tough lesson about paradoxes. Time and progress have changed everything in the world, but the stories always remain the same. It's just the audience that changes.
Ωραία.
Έμαθα καλά.
Beautiful. Είσαι καλός του.
So that's the story here from Gereka and the Limani. I just want to say I'm so happy to be here. It's been such a great trip, such a great adventure. I'm surrounded by my family with so much love. And I want to say that I'm so proud of my Yaya and Papu. They did such a great job. And for them to leave here, to leave their family, to go to the United States without money, without knowing the language, without a skill, was so courageous and so brave of them that it's just hard to believe. And when they got there, they did such a great job every step of the way, and they did it with love in their heart. Με αγάπη στην καρδιά τους. So, Yaya Papu, σε ευχαριστούμε και μπράβο.
Γεια σου, Τάκη.
Γεια.
Γεια σου.
All right, I'll take it. All right, okay.
καρπούζια έχω, πεπόνια έχω, ντομάτες έχω, κολοκυθάκια έχω, μελιτζάνες έχω, ποσάκι σογλίκας. Η original γλυκά κόκκινα καλά καρπούζια με το μαχαίρι. Γλυκά κόκκινα πολύ γλυκά. Αρωματικά πεπόνια έχω, σταφύλια έχω, ροδάκινα έχω. Μελιτζάνες έχω. Ποσάκι σογλίκας η original. Γλυκά κόκκινα καλά καρπούζια έχω. Πεπόνια έχω.